The following is a presentation of the Best Station. The views and comments made in the following program do not necessarily represent the views and comments of the Best Station.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fast Pitch Game 21. I am your co-host, MC Brown.
I'm Eric Lenenberg.
And we welcome you to another fine Game 21. Doctor, how are you doing?
Sir, I'm doing good. It's good to be back.
Yes, definitely.
It's been a week in Los Angeles for the MLB Radio Network.
On assignment?
I'm happy to be back here with you.
4 weeks into the season, and still not enough for Aroldis Chapman to be available, but we're very close to his reinstatement.
It's
basically almost 30 games.
And now another player is going. We'll talk about this in a few minutes.
We got some interesting stuff happening here, but as always, we can be reached at the Fast Pitch MLB on Twitter, Facebook.com/TheFastPitch, Facebook.com/The Best Station, where you want to personally give thanks, as we always do, to our great producer, Craig Best, and the best producer around can also be found on www.thebeststation.net, where all of our shows are archived there under the sports tag. And please drop Craig a line if you can, and just thank him as always, because without Craig, this would not be possible.
That's right.
So thank you, Craig. Thank you all for listening, and we're going to jump right into it, Doctor. We've got a big show kind of lined up, as always. We'll try to fit everything in between our multiple station breaks this show, and we had some great feedback, so I'm going to lead us off here with a wonderful bit of feedback from your favorite fan, Casimir Girl 26. She is back. I'll be awaiting your crow-filled Casimir watch this week, Nurse Baseball. 2-2, go Scott, she says.
Casimir Girl will be happy. I'm not eating crow, but the Casimir watch will be coming up, and I covered...
Why don't you just do it right now?
Okay, I covered a game where Scott Casimir pitched this last week.
This will be interesting, yes.
we even, later in the show, you're going to hear from some Scott Kazmir fans at Dodger Stadium I spoke with. So the night I went there, Scott faced the Marlins. He comes out of the gate giving up 4 hits in a row and 2 runs in the first inning.
Okay.
And shut them down the rest of the way. He scattered 3 hits over the next 6 innings, 11 in a row set down at one point, and 8 strikeouts. Then a couple days ago, versus the Rays, he wins again with 9 strikeouts in 6 2/3 innings. Didn't pitch as well, but he got the win. So he is 2-2 with a 5.68 earned run average.
So we're going to make Craig, our great producer, see if he can do that. We're going to cut to your fan feedbacks right now.
Okay.
So we're going to, this is some cleaned up footage. Hopefully the audio is good for you guys. We're going to swing it to some brief interview the doctor had with some fans in Los Angeles, asking them about Scott Kazmir.
There at Dodger Stadium.
We're going to throw it to that, and we shall be right back.
This is Eric Mendenberg with the Fast Pitch MLB, and I'm here with a couple of diehard Dodger fans. What's your name?
Gloria Chicai. Ashley Mendez.
And thanks for being with me tonight. Do you think the Dodgers can do well tonight? Okay, do you think Scott Kazmir can do a job on the mound?
Yes. I think he'll do a great job.
Oh, yeah? You're Kazmir fans?
What?
Are you a Kazmir fan?
He's kind of new, so I'm looking at how long he's doing it, and hopefully he does really good.
What do you think of Scott Kazmir?
I think he's a good pitcher.
Yeah, he struggled a little bit this year, but maybe tonight he'll pull it together.
It's the beginning of the season, so hopefully he can only get better.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. This is the Fast Pitch. Okay, that was fairly enjoyable, I think. For all
interesting.
The
You got
fans.
It sounded that they were trepidatious. It didn't sound like you actually grabbed Kazmir girl in that one, so I don't know where she was lurking, but you certainly were lucky enough. You may have gotten plants there just to make sure they weren't Kazmir girl.
I wouldn't do that, but I will tell you that I moved pretty swiftly through the stadium that night.
Yeah. Well, certainly I would imagine Kazmir girl was somewhere in that
I'm sure it was
possibly.
Scotty pitching, yes.
Yeah, thankfully you didn't get an arrow through the heart there. But that was cool to hear for some fans, so that's pretty cool.
To tell you the truth, I talked to several fans that night who are Kazmir fans in Dodger Stadium. I was surprised.
And you've lived to tell about it.
Yes, I'm still here.
All right, so you got some feedback for us too.
I do. I have one more message. We had a lot of messages, but we can't read them all on the air. This one in particular, though, PJ from, I think it's Albuquerque, mentioned, Doctor, you and MC are the best radio team I've ever listened to. You guys have a great chemistry.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, PJ.
Thank you.
She also mentions, Doctor, I know of not even one MLB announcer that can stand with you. The way you rattle off that baseball stuff is superhuman as far as I'm concerned.
She or he? It was.
I don't know. I can't tell. Just initials.
PJ, we apologize, so let us know what gender you are so we can refer to you as such, but we appreciate the feedback.
And PJ also mentioned salaries, which is an ongoing topic with us. As far as ball players' salaries, I think they overpay me, so who am I to point the finger anywhere? I think the real travesty is all the pro sports leagues. They are the bank robbers of our day, and they have priced lower income families out of so many events. The owners are the worst.
So now you would disagree with this because you don't agree with the overpricing.
I do not agree.
Yeah, I would probably agree with PJ. I think some of the things are overpriced due to, I think, just the rising, just what's inflation in the game. I think you can't tell me it's not correlating with it because the Cubs are telling us that their renovations and players to stay competitive are directly involved with them raising ticket prices.
Okay, well, let me go back. Since I was at Dodger Stadium last week, I did some more checking.
All right.
And those of you who have seen our page, The Fast Pitch, you saw a lot of numbers I put in there about the parking at Dodger Stadium. Okay, you go online, parking is cut in half. The price is cut in half. You call Barry's Tickets, who are connected to the Dodgers. That night that I went, the Kazmir pitched, $5 seats were available in the upper level.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate for a moment then. Okay, so an average fan, how are they going to know that these things exist? I mean, not everybody is going to be like, because we're only telling them Dodger Stadium too.
Right.
So we don't know what all these other ballparks
several other stadiums do have that. I've got a lot of feedback on that.
And we would need to know that stuff at our disposal. So, I mean, I guess, so you're saying, like, does a fan just call their local stadium?
Barry's Tickets, I must have heard 12 different ads on the radio in the week that I was there.
Okay.
All of them saying, get the lowest price tickets, Dodger Stadium, Anaheim Stadium for the Angels.
Okay.
They mentioned go online to get the half-price parking. All of that is on the air. And truthfully, a lot of fans I talked with at the stadium during the week were well aware of this ticket agency and the prices, and they took advantage of it.
Let me speak on locally, because locally, I went to a game between the Diamondbacks and Cubs, and they're in town, and nowhere did I see any indication of where I could get the cheapest tickets for. As I'm saying, we sat in the upper deck, me and some family members, and it costed about an average about $20-some a seat. There was no seat. There was no vouchers. I know you and Chuck Boyer, a great listener, are going to come out and maybe correct me, but Chuck kept throwing out these things here, but nowhere did, when I was searching online on their website, which is where you would go.
The Diamondbacks website.
You would go to the Diamondbacks website. I didn't find any spot to find $9 seats with cheap
they're there.
Vouchers. They're there because an average fan like myself didn't see them.
Well, you're from Chicago, number one. Number two, Diamondbacks.
So this is a secret code that I
No, Diamondbacks game I covered a couple weeks ago. They had signs all over the place for this, and I know they advertise
If you haven't gone to a game, though, and you're just trying to go for the first time, how are you going to know where these
Well, why don't you Google and say Arizona Diamondbacks?
Well, what if I'm a
cheap
90-year-old person that wants to go to the game and I don't own a computer? How am I supposed to get
If you're a 90-year-old person that wants to go to the game, doesn't have a computer, you have someone call the Diamondbacks, and they'll let you in free and celebrate that you're 90 years old.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Let you throw out the first pitch.
Yeah.
Like that 100-year-old guy we saw throw out the Mariners' first pitch
90,
a few years
not
ago.
100, so what are you going to celebrate? So let's hypothetically say they don't have access to privy information like this. Okay, so obviously in the Los Angeles area,
they do have access. It's widespread.
They do have the news.
Right.
So, in some of these cities, I'm going to guess that maybe that's not as common in there. So let's just say maybe we have some great listeners from New York and tell us what's the cheapest seats in New York, for example.
They can do that. Minnesota. I remember our listener Troy Hawkins.
Yeah,
let's hear from Troy and see, because I know the Twins have promotions.
I want to see Troy. I would like to hear from Troy. Let us know what the cheapest seats in Minnesota is. So I guess this is a challenge to all you fans now. So if you can help us out, just to give us a little further reach here on the fast pitch, just kind of, if we're novices, say me and Dr. Eric, we started a GoFundMe campaign, or we started a campaign to visit all the major league stadiums. I actually talked with a young lady who was actually fastly on her way to doing that.
Yeah.
Actually, she's been through half of them, and a great baseball fan.
And if you want to hear us go and do that and do live shows from there.
Yeah, so if we were to do that, and we want to maybe we're just trying to stay cost effective, what are the cheapest seats in your area? So we're just to challenge all you fast.
Absolutely, let us know.
And let us know what the cheapest seats in your area, and we'd like to know, and we'll actually review these results.
Right.
So it'll be interesting. So
because I believe the tickets are not nearly as bad as people say. Your experience at Chase Field, I don't understand, because, again...
evidently, I had to do a secret knock, a rolling of a dice, and only must end up at Snake Eyes. Call some sort of weird 1-900 number, and then yell the name Chuck Boyer real loud, and then evidently I would have gotten seats for $9.
No, that's not what it takes. Believe me, it was everywhere when I was covering the Diamondbacks 2 weeks ago. Signs all over the place.
I didn't see that. Well, how would you know those signs are there if you haven't gone to a game yet?
I believe if the signs are in the stadium, they're advertised.
In the stadium.
In the stadium. They're advertised outside the stadium.
I buy the first ticket?
They're advertised outside the stadium.
Okay, well, we're going to find out. Chuck will tell us.
Yes, he will.
Because I want to know this. All right, so, Doctor, we're going to go to some good feedback here.
Okay, yeah. We're getting a lot of feedback, a lot of questions. Ann Hamilton.
So, Ann gave us really a thought-provoking question here, and this is something I have to pull up.
Ann's a very astute baseball observer, I'm telling you.
And pull this up because I want to actually... not misquote at all. This is an excellent question. So Ann writes, I would love to hear a discussion of unwritten rules like we talked about in Game 20. She was addressing that. As a non-sports person, she laughs a little bit. This kind of thing fascinates me. And she asks, do you think the change in business ethics over years to, shall we say, and she calls it Trumpian, winning is all, honor is meaningless if you make more money, has influenced baseball and the popular and managerial conception of fair play? What about the players' conception of the same? Is the change in business influencing baseball as business in this arena? Very deep stuff.
That's a really deep question.
Compliment Ann for the feedback, because we've actually had discussions with her online as well, which hopefully, if we get a call and show somewhere down the road, then we would love to hear from Ann live.
Absolutely.
So let's address this here. So what do you think, Doctor? Do you think the change in business over the years with this winning is all attitude? Is that, you believe, meaningless? You should make more money?
I believe some franchises, and I'm not going to name any of them, but there's one in the Midwest, the upper Midwest, who I'm quite positive their owner is only concerned with profit, and if they win, that's great, but in the meantime, they make a lot of money, and they don't win, this particular team. So in some instances, I believe that is the case. But if you go to some of the teams that have a long tradition, I'm talking about the Yankees, the Cardinals, the Dodgers, the Cubs, I don't believe they are putting business ahead of winning. They're combining the two, good business and winning baseball.
I would think the Cubs, for example, they want to bring a championship. I think the owner, Tom Ricketts, you got Theo is there. They're there to bring a championship to Chicago.
And look what they've done in the offseason. They opened up their wallet for some great players. I think they have the best record in the National League right now.
So you're saying, hey, they spent a lot of money on Jason Hayward, but it's produced results.
Yes,
I mean,
it has.
Whether it's the end justifies the means. They threw money at Zobrist, Hayward, both defensive, strong stalwarts, as well as on basemen. So they knew what they were going after. They're so deep that they can withstand, and we'll talk about this later in the show, withstand the injuries of Kyle Schwarber, Montero's on the DL now. Bryant was injured for a little bit. Hayward, as we speak, is hurt. So a lot of this stuff, if not for this depth, the Cubs could easily fall as fast as
Right, and that goes for any team that spends that kind of money. They're doing it to win.
Yeah.
And it's a business move, and it's a baseball move combined. So, what about unwritten rules?
Yeah, so because we can go on this topic for a long time about of fair play and all this with Ant's talking about. Very fascinating question, by the way. So yeah, some of the unwritten rules, I think let's just assume Ann is just a casual fan.
Right.
Let's just say, okay. So some of the unwritten rules, because we had a long show here. Just for example, celebrating after a home run.
Yes.
Flipping a bat, excessive fist pumping. What that would do to address this question, Ann, is probably going to get the next batter or the next time that player comes up,
get him hit by
pitcher
a pitch.
Will consider that showboating and actually hit either that player again or if it's something to do with like a pitcher doing it, obviously he's going to hit probably their best player.
Right.
But if it's that guy who does it, he's probably going to hit by a pitch.
Right.
That's an unwritten rule, no celebrating. This is being disputed like by Bryce Harper, for example, saying, hey, let's infuse some fun into the game without this retaliatory methods. You celebrate. If you do good, I'll celebrate. Fine. Not to probably, I think Bryce is saying, not to excessive
Not
Super
like
Bowl.
the Jose Bautista bat flip last year.
Probably not to like end zone dancing, in the NFL. But, he's probably, hey, let's give some fun. Like, hey, intensity in there. And I can empathize with Bryce. I'm not against that type of
Well, I have great
evolution
respect for Bryce Harper, as you know, and I just disagree with him.
I just don't think you should be robots out there in the field, and I think
I agree with that too.
That
but
type of intensity should probably be celebrated, not necessarily met with a beanball to the ribs.
It depends on how high the celebration gets.
Now, Goose would hit him, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
If Bryce celebrates, Goose Gossage would hit him. That's probably the thing. I would say, if you're taking out runners like Chase Utley, that's going to get him hit. If you does the rule and he takes it out, spikes, somebody gets in there.
Let me mention that.
Well, that's hard-nosed baseball, and I agree with that with the doctor. There is a actual way where it could be very dangerous. If you're sliding, not just Chase Utley, but if you're a player and you're sliding spikes up high, you're probably going to get hit by the next time you pitch.
Yeah,
These are kind of unwritten rules to say if you're doing something to endanger another player, you're probably going to get met with retaliatory.
Okay, last Thursday night, Marlins at the Dodgers. Of all people, Chase Utley is on first base, ground ball's hit, and his slide into second base, he took his hand, did not touch the shortstop, took his hand, tried to touch the bag.
Did he coincidentally take out the legs of the shortstop?
Minimal contact, and umpires didn't call anything. He was out, and he went, next time up, first pitch, he got plunked right in the side.
Yeah.
Now, was that because of what he did that night, or were they just saying, we don't appreciate your overall play during the playoffs, we don't appreciate the new rule because of you? What was it?
I don't know, but I would say we posted on the Fast Pitch page recently the most hated players for every team, but that's the fans of the team's own players. Probably the most hated player on every team from opposing fans or things would probably be Chase Utley.
I don't believe that.
Yeah. Well, on the Dodgers, who do you think is the most hated player on the Dodgers?
Well, he's on the DL right now, but it's Andre Ethier, no question.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, I would think Chase Utley would probably be.
Chase a good man.
Yeah.
I talked to him that night last week. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's just misunderstood, right? So, just to kind of wrap this up, Fran, any other unwritten rules that you can think of right off the top of your head?
No, but we'll respond on the Fast Pitch page, certainly.
I would think, yeah, certainly, and we probably could go into
a long discussion, but it would, unfortunately, time constraints keep us from going into it. But thank you much for the question. Thank you for listening.
Time, man. But yeah, that's just a couple of maybe the unwritten rules. And mostly it's retaliatory when you do something to the other team. You're probably going to end up with a plunk. I mean, the benches could empty in certain instances when things get out of control, usually after a plunking. So when you see those base brawls, it's probably because somebody either threw at somebody or hit somebody, and that's usually the only way you can do something to somebody is hitting them with a pitch. Right. So.
Yeah, but keep the questions coming, Ann. We appreciate them, and we appreciate you listening. Hopefully we're making it a little more clear. But I think all of our fans are enjoying your questions.
Yeah, for sure. So that was a great one from Ann, and we appreciate that as well. So it's going to wrap up some of our feedback for this week at a stack show, and we're kind of, as we said, strapped a little bit on time. So we're going to jump right into our regular segment, Doctor, the lovable Fast Pitch Feud.
Yes.
So we're going to jump right into that as well. So here it is, Doctor.
Here I go.
And Doctor is shimmying and shaking.
Busting moves.
And we're going to be here now with our Fast Pitch Feud now. And
I can't wait till we're live and on camera. People can see me doing the dances.
We can have the Doctor
they'll call me the Dancing with the Stars.
Yes. So here we are. So we're in the Fast Pitch Feud, and basically we're going to run down last show's questions. Name a stadium you've always wanted to visit before you die. Number 2, past or present, name someone on the San Diego Padres. And number 3, if you only had money to spend on one of the following, what would you choose? This would be like a large sum of money, of course. Would you buy a bat, a fielding glove, or cleats?
Interesting responses, too.
We had 4 great listeners respond, so we have a competition between 4 people on this Fast Money round. So what we're going to do is give the number 1 answers, and then we'll go through the listeners' one. So the number 1 answer for name a stadium you've always wanted to visit before you die is a tie. We have a tie between Fenway Park and Wrigley Field.
Doesn't surprise me. 2 of the great old stadiums.
Yeah, we've also heard on supporting ones, no second place, but we've got other answers. Dodger Stadium, Turner Field, Camden Yards. That would have been my choice, Camden Yards. I don't know what would you
I would have chosen Fenway, definitely.
Fenway and Busch Stadium. So very cool. So Wrigley and Fenway are number 1 answers there. Number 2 question: past or present, name someone on the San Diego Padres. I easily would have said our number 1 answer, which is the great, awesome Tony Gwynn. Who clear and far ahead is the number 1 answer.
How could you answer anybody else? I'm
we had
wondering.
A couple other ones.
And who were the other ones?
Matt Kemp and Justin Upton.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow, both of them. Kemp's only been with the Padres a couple of years. Upton, one season? Wow.
Surprising.
Well, I don't want to,
we're not going to
denigrate anyone.
Who we surveyed there. That's just what the fans said.
Yeah.
Number 3, if you only had money to spend on one of the following, which one would you choose? Clear and far ahead, the winner was bat. Glove was second place. And cleats brought the rear.
I would have chosen bat. What about you?
Probably bat. Yeah. Glove would be another. I don't know if cleats I would choose, but cleats, shoes in any other walk of life probably gets more answers. So we're going to go to our great listeners here. So, Corey S.
Corey Seward.
You just revealed his last name, Doctor. So his privacy's out the window. So Corey, number 1, he answered Camden Yards. Good choice, but not the number 1 answer. Will Venable was his name, which would get a big X.
Will Venable.
Sorry, Corey. Nobody said Venable. And bat. So Corey got the number 1 answer on that. Corey finished with 7 points. Dragging up second place to the 4, which is telling you something, Doc. We're going to have a tie. Zachary L. He answered Wrigley Field. Tie for number 1. Tony Gwynn. He had the number 1 answer. Unfortunately, he chose glove, which puts him in second place. Zachary L. finishes with 14 points. And we had a tie with Chuck and our great listener Jeff Hamilton. So Chuck Boyer and Jeff Hamilton Chuck B and Jeff H. Too late, we already said your names. The answers they gave were the number one answer, Ty Wrigley Field, Tony Gwynn, and Bat. Both of them finished with 17 points. So, Doctor, we're going to do a little bit of a drawing, and we're going to do it as we speak here, so the Doctor will not know the answers, and the Doctor's going to choose. It's either going to be Chuck or Jeff. Doctor will not see these.
Who is it going to be?
And the Doctor will pull this out of a bag. His eyes are closed, just so you know.
Eyes are closed.
And whichever one the Doctor chooses will be the one. So
here we go.
So
mix them up a little bit.
The winner is Jeff Hamilton.
Jeff Hamilton.
So Jeff H., you win.
Jeff H., you win a San Diego Padres media guide. And you will also win a San Diego Padres baseball.
Nice. And he's won the bragging rights that he's defeated the awesome
Chuck Boyer. He's defeated Chuck Boyer. That's not an easy thing to do either.
Not easy. Chuck was a fair drawing. Unfortunately, Chuck finished second place. But to bring Chuck back up, he won last week's, which means Chuck could give the new Fast Pitch Feud questions, which
That's
we
right.
have. And we've actually turned Chuck's suggestions into 2 questions, so we thank Chuck as well. And he gave us some great suggestions, so we're going to use 2 of the 3 for Chuck. And congratulations again to Jeff.
Jeff,
and
good job.
New questions here before we go to Station Break, Doctor, are submitted by the great Chuck Boyer. Number 1, name a baseball movie.
Good question.
Could be anything.
Oh, man, there's
Awesome
a lot of
job,
good
Chuck.
baseball movies.
Number 2, name a player on the Seattle Mariners, past or present.
Okay, that's a tough one, too.
A lot of good ones there. And finally, number 3, also an alteration of Chuck's questions submitted. Name the most exciting play out of the following 3. So what would you say? Either steal of home, inside the park homer, or triple play. So what would the fans say?
Boy.
If you're going to answer this, put it on the Fast Pitch page. All of you complied, and we appreciate it. Give us your answers, and the Doctor and myself will have a special prize for you.
Yes.
Possibly Seattle Mariners related. So give us some great answers on the Fast Pitch page, and we look forward to them.
Absolutely, and you should look forward to the gift next week as well. We've had some great prizes this year.
Yes, definitely, and we congratulate Jeff. I believe that's a first-time winner, right?
He is first-time winner, Jeff Hamilton, and I believe Jeff is a big Texas Rangers fan.
Yeah,
so I may,
Texas Rangers prize
I may
one.
be able to pull something off and have him trade for it.
Yeah,
We'll
so maybe
see.
Chuck will trade him if Chuck wins the Texas one. But we're going to have to head to the station break, Doctor, but you have our great Who Am I of the Week to go, right?
Yes, I do. Who am I?
So take it away, Doctor.
All right. Who am I? And clue number 1. I made my MLB debut on September 2nd, 1973 with the San Francisco Giants, and 2 weeks later struck out 11 Padres en route to my first victory and complete game.
Oh.
Clue number 2, in 1974, I was named the National League Rookie Pitcher of the Year by the Sporting News. And finally, clue number 3. After being traded to the Padres in 1977, I was switched to the bullpen where I went 4-3 with 10 saves and a 2.13 ERA in 45 games.
Oh,
Who am I?
We will find out when we come back. You are listening to thebeststation.net, home of the best station, the best music for the best audience. Now featuring the best podcasts for the best audience. With such podcasts as The Fast Pitch, starring MC Brown and Dr. Eric Lenneberg, covering any and all related MLB news and current events. And now featuring The Comic Casters, starring MC Brown, Colt Hudson, and Derek Ross. On location for comic book conventions, reviewing comic book trades and collections, and anything and all related comic book movies, news, and events. This is a presentation of thebeststation.net. The best station, the best music for the best audience.
Next time you're at Veterans Stadium, look for Carol Ann Zachney. She's one of the 10 usherettes in the contest for Miss Schmidt's Philly. Carol comes from the Aldi section of Philadelphia and reminds all her friends there that the contest closes July 13th. Get a ballot at the stadium or wherever you buy Schmidt's beer.
Welcome to the end of April 2016 update for the XF BBL. The first month of the season stats are now complete. This league tracks all the former teams of every active player on the 30-man Major League team rosters as of opening day 2016, using a scoring system to determine points based on players' actual performances, and those points are then awarded to each team that the player has ever been a member of. So if a player has played for 10 teams over the years, his points are awarded to those 10 teams. If he only played for one former team, then only that one team gets the points. If the player is still playing for his original team he signed with, then he will not be part of this league or any team roster. These points are totaled up as a team for total points, batting points, and pitching points. Scoring for batters is as follows: 1 point for each total base obtained in an at-bat, 1 point for each run scored, run batted in, walk, and stolen base. You can deduct 1 point for a caught stealing. Scoring for pitchers is as follows: 1 point for each out and strikeout obtained, 5 points for each win, 3 points for each save, deduct 1 point for each hit allowed, base on balls, and hit batters, deduct 5 points for each loss, deduct 4 points for each earned run allowed, and all players, regardless if they're a pitcher or a fielder, are deducted 5 points for each error they commit. Starting the year, the Oakland A's had 59 ex-members playing on other teams. That's almost 2.5 full teams, whereas San Francisco only had 24. This, of course, would give Oakland the most likely chance of obtaining the most points, as they had the most ex-players on other teams. So the standings are based on the averages of the points obtained divided by the number of players to make the field level for all teams. At the end of April 2016, the Oakland Athletics are still leading the league in average points per ex-player with 30.25 points per ex-player. The Oakland Athletic batters are powering this league by averaging 46.46 points per ex-athletic batter, leading Major League Baseball, just ahead of the St. Louis Cardinals, who have 46.14, which helps the Cardinals to 7th overall in the total point standings. The Cincinnati Reds lead the ex-player pitching standings with an average of 26 points per ex-pitcher, helping the Reds to 3rd place overall despite holding a commanding lead in pitching over the 2nd place New York Yankees, who have 20.34 points per ex-pitcher, and the Yankees are holding 10th place in overall total points. As for the batters in Major League Baseball, Josh Donaldson is leading the league with 115 points, currently 16 points ahead of 2nd place Dexter Fowler. For pitching, Jake Arrieta has got the jump on the Cy Young this year and on this league, leading it with 121 points, followed by Jordan Zimmerman in 2nd of the Detroit Tigers with 110 points. Please join us again next month for the first 2 months' averages and standings in the XF BBL. Thank you.
For the latest in delectable desserts, try a box of Mitch Moreland's Mud Pies. Fresh from the swamps of the Mississippi Delta, Mitch Moreland's Mud Pies are sure to satisfy something.
The tracks and the trains just coming, strapped to the wing with the engine running. You say that this wasn't in your plan. Don't mess around with the demolition man. I'm a walking nightmare, that's a no to do. I kill conversation as I walk into the room. I'm a 3-line whip, I'm a sort of finger band, I'm a walking disaster boy.
Struck out 6.
Don't mess around with the demolition man.
are back on the Fast Pitch Game 21. We have a box of Mitch Moreland's mud pies ordered, and hopefully we'll get them soon. I don't even know what's in them.
From the swamps of the Mississippi Delta, so they're bound to have some mosquitoes or something. Seaweed, yeah.
This is going to be interesting. Okay, so thank you for that, Doctor. And you got our Who Am I reveal, right?
I do.
This is great. I don't even know who this is.
Quickly again made his MLB debut in September of '73, and 2 weeks later, complete game victory with 11 strikeouts. '74, he was named the NL Rookie Pitcher of the Year by Sporting News, and moved to the bullpen by the Padres in '77. He was an outstanding closer. 4-3 with 10 saves, 2.13 ERA. We are talking about, who am I? John D'Acquisto.
All right, John D'Acquisto.
Had a great career there in the 70s and early 80s. Well-remembered man and a future guest on our show.
I was going to say, tease that this gentleman might hopefully be a guest on our show.
Yeah, he listens to the Fast Pitch. He likes the page. And John has a lot of stories to tell from his career in the major leagues, so we look forward to having him soon.
Definitely look forward to having him here on the Fast Pitch. Great one there, Doctor.
Thank you.
Yes, that's some good stuff there. In '74, I was not alive in that no-hitter.
Well, neither was I, but...
yeah, well, that's incorrect. So, we're going to get into our major news here, and the clues kind of tie into our hot topic of the week, but we're just going to kind of run down some stuff. Some big news, unfortunately. D. Gordon suspended 80 games. I think that just kind of is the main thing, and we have to talk about this, one of the major names in the game, and it's sad news, Doctor.
It's sad news, and I'm surprised. We got a guy who is the defending National League batting champion. 2 years ago, led the major leagues in stolen bases. Always tested negative all along. What is he doing? What is he thinking now? He's not a power hitter, never will be, and he competed and performed at the top level of the game. Batting champion, stolen base champion. Why would he do this now, MC?
This is just sad, Doctor, and arguably there were rumors like his career on possibly in decline 2013, like he had possibly could have taken something to increase his longevity in the game or keep him around. It's sad to even have these questions over it because we've watched D. Gordon play. We've followed his career the last couple of years, and just one of the most exciting players to watch in the game from stolen bases, just defensively. And yeah, it is disappointing for a lot of us, both of us fans of D. Gordon.
Absolutely.
Here, and very disappointed whenever you read something like this. And Chris Colabello was suspended earlier. We posted a link on the Fast Pitch page for any of you who had seen it before this show will be posted, just so you know. And that's basically saying there's some more names to be revealed, but not major names. Right. Thankfully, no less disappointing to those other names, unfortunately, who could be had high hopes of making the majors, I'm sure, but still, there's potentially what was revealed is a potential substance, I think new substance that was not able to be detected before, but new, basically this substance known as the steroid Turinabol,
yeah.
And evidently now with the testing they can detect it, I think, a little further back.
Right.
So these players may be thinking they were safely had put that behind them. Unfortunately, this is catching up.
Well, all they have to do is look at Jeremy Mejia, who was banned for life after having a great season last year, Mets pitcher. That should be warning enough, I would think. I spoke with someone recently who was a player during at the height of the steroid era. And he said it was rampant in the game, everybody used it. But now with those type of things hanging over you, is it worth it? He didn't think so.
And Mejia had actually, because he had was a repeat offender.
Yeah, it was his third offense.
Bad news from last year. We were hoping that would have been the end of it. Like maybe Mejia, Genry was on the, okay, this is going to be the last of it.
Yes.
But unfortunately now with starting this here, and it causes into our next kind of bit of business too, causes suspicion. Then you got other broadcast journals coming out, and they're making assumptions that maybe, they shouldn't be talking about. There's no proof. So Stephen A. Smith, this is what I'm talking about, was saying, maybe Jake Arrieta because he's so dominant now. And, unfortunately, Stephen A., you can't just start throwing accusations.
No, you cannot.
Because baseball is known as a lot of high and low seasons, and I think maybe Stephen A. maybe doesn't know the game as well.
I would bet Stephen A., I bet you never played the game.
No.
I bet you never played the game. And I'll tell you what, Jake Arrieta, read the sports.
He had a comeback to him.
Yeah, he did. He had some down years with the Orioles. He got traded to the Cubs, got with Chris Bosio, and retained his form from college. and he's a hard worker. Read the Sports Illustrated article about Arrieta. You'll learn a lot more about him. Do not, Mr. Smith, don't go throwing names out there like that.
Emphatically, Jake said, don't undercut my hard work.
That's right.
And
that's an insult. Stephen Smith, go to the Al Jazeera network. Why don't you and just start
Stephen Smith,
throwing things out?
Basketball journalist. I think he's out of his league here.
Definitely out of his league. And I liked him as a basketball journalist. I lose respect for anyone who throws those names out there just to make news.
Can't do that, to make news and stuff. You know, you have real players getting suspended like D. Gordon for 80 games. Jake Arrieta's done nothing wrong. He doesn't need his name besmirched even by anything. If he did something like that, let it come out.
That's right.
But
through the proper channels.
Just don't start throwing accusations out because of somebody's success. Because baseball, as we know, just to get back to it, is known. You have these players on great years. You have these players struggle, and it's because it's a game of adjustments.
That's right.
People adjust. If you don't adjust back, you're going to be overpowered. It's a batter versus hitter. You need to make adjustments. Jake made the adjustments to become a better pitcher, whether with Chris Basio's help, his own hard work, obviously, all these combinations of things. And I'm with Jake. Do not undercut this athlete's hard work. And,
no, I get angry about this. Like I said, Stephen Smith never played baseball. He's throwing these accusations out there. He needs to shut it down.
His mouth shut until you have some proof of anything, because there are players, unfortunately, like D. Gordon, who have done stuff.
And Tony Colabello,
Chris Colabello.
That
are actually paying the price for it. So, yes, definitely. And
I don't get my blood pressure up like this very often, but something like this, it just sickens me when someone's name is thrown out there.
I mean, it's bad enough with D. Gordon and Chris Colabello as it is, but to just throw blank accusations out with no substance at all.
No substance at all, nothing to them.
It's just, it's wrong. It's basically just wrong at the end of the day. You know, if you got something substantial, you bring it to the table. If not,
leave it alone.
Zip it, because these players work hard.
They work incredibly hard.
For all these besmirched couple of players who besmirched the game, you have hundreds and hundreds of players who have worked hard to get to an elite level.
750 of them.
You do not undercut these players' hard work. So obviously we've had cheaters in the game. We've had players that are enhancing themselves. We're trying to put it behind us in this game, but you can't just start throwing darts at players and hoping, I might be guess right here. It's just not
no,
good.
And I hope while I'm on assignment next week again in Los Angeles, I run into Stephen A. Smith. I really do, because I'd like to have a talk with him.
Yeah, I mean, into their defense, in his defense, you're saying, well, you had players deny it emphatically, like a Rafael Palmeiro, but,
No, there's no defense for this kind of comment.
You can't just do that. The Palmeiro's case was Palmeiro's case. Palmeiro's Palmeiro.
Right.
You're looking at Jake Arrieta, Cy Young Award winner, pitching at a high level. And until you got some proof, Stephen,
and a quality character person.
You don't do that. That's just wrong. To get off this, and just go, keep it still though. In the Cubs have been beset by a lot of injuries, Doctor.
They have, and yet they're still holding on to first place, and by a margin, 3 or 4 games.
And now they had Miguel Montero on the DL. Chris Bryant was hurt for a little bit. He's back. He's starting to play a little bit more outfield because of the injuries now with Jason Hayward with his wrist. So, I mean, you got to give credit to Joe Madden, of course, keeping the team afloat. But, they lost Kyle Schwarber, obviously, for the year. They're still rolling along. Believe it or not, the bigger surprise might even be the crosstown rivals, the Southsiders.
I know, the White Sox.
First place and just dominating, too. So, could this be the year where Chicago versus Chicago in the World Series?
It'd be all right with me.
That would be amazing.
I'm not a Cubs or White Sox fan, but I'd like to see something like that.
Jump the gun and say that. I think it's fun to speculate on something like that, because that would be probably a once in a lifetime, you'd imagine, thing that you would see for entire baseball.
Definitely. Let me mention one other thing that we talked about off air. National League West. Okay, I covered the Dodgers last week for MLB Radio, and what did they do? Lose 6 out of 7.
You're a jinx.
And you know what, though?
What that proves.
Not much of a jinx, because they're still in first place, because the Giants and Diamondbacks kept right with them. Both lost 6 out of 7.
We're going to talk about that in our Fast Pitch Fantasy League segment later. So
unbelievable. Nobody wants to win the NL West anymore.
Evidently not. So before we get to our great This Day in Baseball segment, we're just going to run down the awards for this month, Doctor.
Right.
And our rookies of the month this this month are the great, obviously, Trevor Story in the National League, and Nomar, how do you say his last name? Mazzara. He is the great outfielder who replaced Shin-Soo Choo, and Mazzara is also the Rookie of the Year in the National League.
Rookie of the Month.
Rookie of the Month.
In the American
League. Could be, but right now he's the Rookie of the Month in the American League. So basically those two rookies off to great starts. And our Pitchers of the Month or Jake Arrieta, as we said, throwing that no-hitter. And awesome surprise, Jordan Zimmerman.
Jordan Zimmerman, now it's
Tigers.
He signed early. He signed right after Greinke, and a lot of teams were after him. He signed with Detroit, and
paying off for the
Tigers,
and
he quietly was a solid pitcher the last couple of years. So it doesn't surprise me he's coming into his own now.
Was he giving up 1 run? Is that it?
One run so far, yes, in 6 games.
That's amazing. So yeah, they're getting their money's worth from Jordan Zimmerman. Definitely, he had some great years with the Nationals, so I think
he did, but he was overshadowed by Scherzer and Strasburg.
And he kind of went his own way, and now he's the ace of the Detroit Tigers staff.
Can you imagine him being a number 3 starter on the staff? That's how strong Washington pitching was.
Yeah, now he's killing the ace. He's killing it as the ace of Detroit. Finally, the awards given out for the National League and American League Players of the Month, and this should be no surprise to anybody following baseball. Manny Machado on a tear for the Baltimore Orioles is the American League Player of the Month, and National League Player of the Month, Bryce Harper. That should be no surprise either.
Both of them picking up where they left off last season. I want to mention something that I was talking about on another show the other day. Bryce Harper is 23 years old, and in his 5th Major League season, MC. He's a veteran at 23.
You mentioned this on another show.
Yeah, I was interviewed on another show the other day.
Yes, and and we'll take this time to mention that. Do a plug for that.
Yeah, Clubhouse Chatter with Norm Ordaz.
All right, that's awesome. Yeah, great guys. I listened to that show.
Yeah, really good guys, Norm and Brian. And you want to check out their show if you're on Facebook, Clubhouse Chatter.
Now, those 2 gentlemen, I had mentioned that we were copying them or following their footsteps.
Yeah, they were having a little fun with us at the end of the show there.
Yeah, a little bit of fun. But
if that's the case, if they want to throw down a challenge, let's see what happens.
Yeah, we could do a trivia against them and see who wins that, right?
Seriously, Norm's a really good guy. Great show. They stream live. Just go to Clubhouse Chatter and you'll find out how to reach them.
We're going to put a link on the Fast Pitch page.
Yes.
Where you can listen to that interview with the doctor.
Absolutely.
So if you haven't seen it, I believe I shared it, but we're going to share it again on the Fast Pitch page.
Had a lot of fun.
It's a great interview. In all seriousness, a couple great dudes, and they had you on there, and they mentioned getting me on there. And anytime, guys, if you guys are listening, let me know, and I'd be happy to be on there.
Absolutely.
And yes, we are following in the footsteps, in the trail-blazing efforts of our good friends over there. And we appreciate having a doctor on, and it was a great show. I urge everybody to listen to that. So
let me mention something about a recent guest. We are actually the first guest we ever had on the Fast Pitch, Jim Campanis Jr.
Have him back on.
We are going to have him back on because his new book, Born into Baseball, has come out, and
another link we'll post on the Fast Pitch page.
Yes, it's selling well. If you get in there early, you get an autographed copy, an autograph by Campy's dad as well.
Awesome.
Campy's a close friend of mine, and I'm loving this. I'm loving seeing this.
We wanted to talk about the book a bit. That's going to be exclusively here on the Fast Pitch.
Right.
The doctor will track him down this coming week, and hopefully in this next couple of shows. We got a big interview, obviously, with this show. We haven't plugged yet, but we will shortly. The doctor will be a 2-part interview with Jason Siler after our next station break.
That's right.
And right after that, hopefully we can get Campy's book plugged in there. If it's not on next show, it'll be on probably Game 23. So awesome stuff coming up. So you ready for This Day in Baseball, Doctor?
We're ready.
We're going to take it away.
And here I'm going to bust a move again. As soon as the tune comes on. Here we go.
There it is. It's another great episode show here we got here, Game 21. We're going to have another great segment of This Day in Baseball.
This Day in Baseball.
Thank
you got some good ones this week, do you, MC?
Yes, we do. Thank you for the lead-in from This Week in Baseball and the very distinctive melody that we...
The melodious song from... Where'd you get that? NationalPastime.org?
NationalPastime.com brings us these next 10 significant, approved by the doctor, This Day in Baseball. And this is one of our this is one of our most fun segments to do here on the Fast Pitch. So we're going to rewind and turn back the clock, Doctor.
Let's do it.
All the way back to 1871 for our first one. Bill Lennon becomes the first catcher to throw a runner out trying to steal second. All the way back in 1871. You were just a wee lad then.
The first guy to throw out a base runner.
The Fort Wayne, how do you say it? Kikongas, I think.
Tim Haggerty would know.
Yeah, Tim Haggerty, please help us out here. Backstop accomplishes this feat in the 7th inning of the very first Major League game ever played. Look at that. 1871. What was it like in baseball in 1871, Doctor? Tell
You'd
us.
have to ask one of your brothers,
Oh,
one
really?
of your younger
Can
brothers.
we take your time machine back to us?
The Wayback Machine.
Yeah, okay. So that was pretty cool. 1919, the Doctor now has turned 31 years old here. An SRO crowd attends the first ever Major League game played on a Sunday in Brooklyn. The Ebbets Field contest, in which the Dodgers beat the Braves 6-2, was made possible when the New York legislature passed the Sunday baseball bill into the law.
That's amazing.
What were you doing
to me.
back in
the
1919?
legislature passing a law so baseball can be played.
1931, in an effort to put less strain on Babe Ruth's leg, the Bambino plays first base, moving Lou Gehrig to right field. The Iron Horse commits an error in the outfield, helping the Senators to beat the Yankees 7-3.
And you know what? I've never heard that story, and I bet none of our listeners have either. Yeah. That's classic right there.
That is what we do here on
Lou
the Fast
Gehrig
Pitch.
moved to right field so the Babe could play first.
Yes. Good stuff there. 1944, for the first time in the city's history, blacks are allowed to buy grandstand seats in St. Louis. The Browns and Cardinals are the last Major League team to integrate seating for fans, having restricted the minority to bleachers in previous years. So that's good that Breaking the Birds.
Yes, they did. What year was that again?
1944.
What took them so long?
St. Louis obviously was behind in a lot of things in the other stuff in there, but yeah, that's we're celebrating history there with that. That's
and it's good they did it, but I'm saying, why did they take so long?
Yeah,
but
I know.
It's good it happened.
Yeah, it's good that milestone was achieved there, and we're celebrating that on the Fast Pitch for sure. 1954, the Phillies and Cardinals set a Major League record by using a total of 42 players in one game. Can you believe that?
42?
Holy cow. Philadelphia wins the Busch Stadium contest that includes 4 future Hall of Famers in 11 innings, 14-10.
Oh.
Amazing. 42 players. Can you imagine that in one game?
Oh, man.
1963, in a 7-5 loss to Chicago at County Stadium, Bob Shaw commits 5 balks to establish a new Major League mark. I hope so. After walking Billy Williams in the third inning, the Braves right-hander balks 3 times, allowing a run to score. Why was he in the game? Is what the doctor was saying earlier.
I'm sorry, that one.
How did you stay in the game to last that long?
Balk 5 times, especially after doing that to Billy Williams. Get him out of there. Holy cow.
Basically just gave up an inside-the-park home run.
Yes.
Via balks. 1968, and hopefully our great producer Craig Best will celebrate this. YouTube copyright music allowed, willing. The Simon & Garfunkel tune, Mrs. Robinson, debuts on the Billboard's Top 40. The song's lyrics include the memorable question for the Yankees' former center fielder, "Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio?"
And I have a funny story about that.
The nation turns its lonely eyes to you.
If anyone's ever read Robert Kramer's excellent biography of Joe DiMaggio, when that song came out, obviously DiMaggio wasn't listening to rock music, but someone played it for him, and he got very disturbed and upset. He said, "Who are these singing guys to question me? I'm working. What are they doing?" But then years later, 20 years later, he fondly listened to that song and told people how happy it made him.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty
Joe
cool.
D mellowed with age.
We're going to try to have that as our closing tune here, folks. If we can be allowed to, we shall. Music is the theme here on the Best Station, so we want to thank Craig Best for all he does, and hopefully we can get this one in there. Great piece of history there. Obviously, we're coming to you from May 4th. I don't think we stated that, too, as well. May 4th in history is our date we're using here. 1969, at the Astrodome, Houston sets a National League record, turning 7 double plays against the Giants. Wow. With first baseman Kurt Blefary, yes, taking part in all of them. Good job, Kurt. The abundance of twin killings helps the Astros to win the game 3-1. Can you imagine that?
7 double plays in a game. Wow. That's, there are 27.
If I'm the Giants, I'm upset during that game kicking things.
There are 27 outs in a game, so that means more than half of the outs in that game were recorded by double play.
I know, that is amazing. So going back to Time Machine here, in the great year of 1975, in Candlestick Park at 12:32 p.m., the Astros' Bob Watson scores the Major League's 1 millionth run. The future dean of discipline for baseball crosses the plate on Milt Mays' 3-run home run, seconds ahead of Dave Concepcion of the Reds to earn the distinction. Can you imagine that? He almost had it, Dave Concepcion.
On a future show, I want to talk to you about Bob Watson. I have some great stories about him playing winter ball in Nicaragua.
Oh.
Funny stories. I talked to Bob a couple springs ago. He was up in the booth, and he's kind of a stern guy these days, being in charge of what he's in charge of, but I got him laughing about those things.
Well, that's good. That's good. Love to hear that. Okay, finally, Doctor. 1985, Baltimore's Cal Ripken en route to baseball's all-time mark for consecutive games played breaks Brooks Robinson's club record when he plays in his 464th consecutive contest. The Orioles shortstop marks the occasion by hitting a double and a home run in the Birds' 8-6 loss to Minnesota at the Metrodome.
Cal always rises to the occasion. His last All-Star game, he homered. The night that he broke Gehrig's record, he homered. Quite a player.
Fitting into our This Day in Baseball segment, before we head to our next station break, we're going to have a couple of them more of this show. I just want to finish up our news that we didn't mention. Unfortunately, sad news, Charlie Morton requires hamstring surgery. He's out for the season. That is...
Boy, there's been a lot of injuries this year.
Yes, unfortunately. In the last couple of moves, Blue Jays, Michael Bourne agreed to a minor league deal, so Bourne may resurface back with the Blue Jays. I believe he was with them, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
And the Rangers extend Adrian Beltre, so you'll see him in Texas for a while. So
Adrian Beltre came up to the Dodgers at 18, was the starting third base.
It's amazing. He's still going strong.
Yeah, it's making me choke thinking about it.
Very cool, very cool. So, Doctor, we're going to head to our station break, but you're going to set this up. Who you're going to interview here? It's an awesome Jason Siler.
Jason Siler.
Set this up. Give us some credentials on this man we're about to hear from.
Jason played his college ball at Murray State University here in America. Had a great career there, and then he went to Europe. Played over there. He was the last European player at about 400 MC.
Nice.
But also he coached there for a few years, and he's got some great stories about some of the things he ran into with. Back then in the European leagues when he was coaching, there were players who had never played the game before. Specifically in Germany, he tells a funny story. So you're going to look forward to this,
listeners. Can't wait for this one. Yeah, this is a two-part interview.
It is.
This is going to be part one that we're going to, after our next station break, Craig is going to lead us in, and then we're going to come back with Dr. Eric with the interview he conducted in Los Angeles, right?
Santa Clarita, California.
And with the great Jason Siler. So we're going to head to station break. When we come back, you'll be led right into the interview from Dr. Eric with Jason Siler.
The Fast Pitch will return in just one moment. Attention, Chicago Cub fans! Stay tuned for a fantastic offer from Titanic Tours. Can't believe this is your team's year? Well, neither can we. So we are offering you a chance of a lifetime opportunity to purchase your dream baseball excursion, which includes following your Cubs as they choke away the NL Central Division, wild card, or any possible chance in the playoffs during September or October of this season. You will get tickets to every game at Wrigley Field, or Miller Park South as it is known in Wisconsin, and every road game as well that the Cubs play in September, in order to guarantee that you won't miss that fatal flaw that costs the Cubs another year without a championship. Should the Cubs somehow survive the regular season and make the playoffs, your Titanic Tour guarantee will provide you with all the needed tickets for the Cub playoff games, as you know you don't want to miss that special gag that is sure to happen if the Cubs make the playoffs. Including in the packages are a meet and greet with Bartman at Wrigley Field towards the end of a game, a chance to free a family of black cats onto the field during a Cubs at-bat, participation in a goat milking contest in center field during a pregame. All that is included with your tour. Call Titanic Tours now for this package, as it will fill up fast after the All-Star break. Call 1-555-CUBS-LOSE. That's 1-555-CUBS-LOSE. Do it today. Titanic Tours is a private tour company owned by the Edmund Fitzgerald Foundation and not associated in any way with MLB or any right-thinking human being.
And I'm joined today by a very special guest, Jason Siler.
How you doing?
Good, good. Thanks for being with us, Jason. Jason, we have a lot of topics to cover here. And let me start out by asking you, you're a musician by trade now.
Yeah.
And you came from baseball. And what I found in other interviews is baseball and music tend to go together. So it doesn't surprise me you're doing this. What are your best memories of playing baseball in college first?
Well, I would say that in college, probably the biggest memory, and I hear a lot of people say this, is the guys.
Right.
The locker room, the camaraderie. Like our college, we lost in my senior year. We lost in the tournament. We have no big we're the champions kind of situation. But it's just the guys, like becoming friends, the things you say to each other, the mean stuff, the good stuff, all of it. It was that's the memories. That's the best part of college baseball.
And you went to Murray State University, right?
That's correct.
And from there, you went to Europe.
I went to Europe. I went to Germany first. And it's interesting, my mother, I don't know what I'm going to do after college. I got a degree in communications, and my mom's German, and she says, I found this baseball team in Germany that wants an American coach. And so she got me in contact with them, and then that's kind of how the whole thing started. From that team, I met another team, and I traveled around and went to different places after that.
Right. And we were talking earlier, off the air, you were able to use that baseball to travel around and see a lot of Europe. So you combined the two. You still got to play baseball, coach baseball, and see Europe at the same time. What a great experience that must have been.
Oh, it was fantastic. The beauty of it is we'd practice during the week and we'd play on the weekends, but we'd only practice 3 times a week. So there'd be two or 3 days out of the week that I'd get to take a train and go to another city, hang out, and we'd play tournaments. Like in Germany, we went to the south of France and played in a tournament during the summer. It was actually Bastille Day, and so we went down there on the French Riviera, basically, and played a tournament there. And there'd be teams from Slovakia, Czech Republic, Holland, Sweden, and that's actually how that first tournament that I went down with Germany, I met a team from Sweden, and then the next year they asked me if I would come there and play then, so it just kept going like that.
Right. I think a lot of our listeners aren't aware of how many teams there are in Europe. It seems like almost every country has one. The World Baseball Classic is a good showcase for those. Now, I announced for Team Japan. I was the English-speaking announcer back when the World Baseball Classic started. And the other countries that were involved, I think there were only 8 or 10 countries in the whole thing. And last year I watched, and you had Germany, Australia, Italy, New Zealand, Curacao.
Holland,
right, Amsterdam, great team from Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And you were there at the beginning of those things, really, for some of those German teams. What was a big difference between American and European players?
I would say the biggest difference was, depending on which league you're in, it varied from a good high school to a bad Division I college. There'd be like that variation. But you might have a pitcher who's pitching, who could pitch Division I, but the right fielder couldn't start on my high school team.
Right.
And they'd be in the same game because there wasn't enough people that had enough interest to play. So you would have different leagues. So maybe in one team we would have four teams, right? And you'd have your highest division team, which had your best players. You'd have a junior or kids team. Then you'd have kind of like a T-ball where they're trying to get these new kids started to like baseball from a young age. And then you would have an adult team that basically never played baseball. They heard about it, they saw it once on TV, and they go, I want to try that. And so they've never picked up a ball in their life. They don't even own a glove. They show up, they want to play, and then they get to be have a season, and it's like the Bad News Bears.
Yeah. I'm sure you have a lot of funny stories from over there.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Go ahead and share some with us.
Okay, so I'll start you off with this one. So it's exactly that situation. We have an adult team, and basically what I would do is I would bring maybe a third or fourth year player and have him be the pitcher.
Right.
Because if you didn't, it would just be balk after throwing it over the catcher's head, just constantly like that, right? And these guys actually can hit fairly good because they're strong. Some of them are quite athletic. So their swing isn't very good. Some of them hit it like a tennis racket or something, right? But they could actually hit the ball, and they can run just as fast as anybody else. But if you hit a ground ball to third base, you were safe because the third baseman couldn't field it and throw it to first fast enough.
Yes.
Right? So anyway, there's a guy on third base. There's a hitter up. It's his second game of the year. He's a brand new player. He's an adult, but he's a brand new player. Pitcher on the mound, man on third. Pitcher picks to third. Guy from third takes off running home. Catcher at third base. Third baseman catches the ball, throws it home. Batter hits a ground ball to second base, runs to first base, stays on first base, and we're like, time, hold up, come on, you got to come back. I think the lead runner's out. I'm not sure. I've never seen this, And he's like, no, I'm safe. No. And he won't even leave first base because he's now on base for his first time, right?
Yeah.
And we had to explain to him that's not how it works. He was a right-handed batter, hit a ground ball to second base on a throw from third.
Oh, man.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
That's hilarious.
Okay, we are back on the Fast Pitch Game 21. What a great first part of that interview with Jason.
That was a lot of fun and very informative, and I look forward to the second part as you do too.
Yeah, we'll discuss it probably more next show. We're just kind of running short on time on the show, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll discuss a little bit before we set up part 2. Hopefully with not much bad news to speak of on Game 22. So we'll look forward to delving into that. We'll review that a little bit, obviously, and you guys can follow along too because you'll have heard it as well. So, Doctor, we're going to go into our final segment of the show here, Fast Pitch Fantasy League.
And a favorite of a lot of listeners right here.
A lot of listeners. Our great winner, Zachary L., is 2-2. Mm-hmm. So following Zach as we normally do, myself I'm playing him this week with you to play him next week. So we're playing our fast pitch listener / winner, and I am slightly beating Zach a little bit this week. So
I'm 2-2 but I'll win this week. I'm way ahead.
Yeah, you are off to a great start by virtue of one of our hot players, as we're going to go a bunch through our hot and colds.
Yes.
So we might as well start off with their player, Brandon Belt off to Terry. He's also on your team.
Brandon Belt. I didn't originally pick him either.
It was a waiver move you made.
Yeah, I picked somebody else at first who started off slow, and Brandon Belt was sitting there untouched.
Yeah, they believe you dropped Hosmer. Somebody else picked up Hosmer, but your Belt one was a good move. He's staring it up right now.
He's helped a lot.
Obviously, Manny Machado, who's the American League Player of the Month, he's off to a great start. Him and Harper obviously would be great picks. Almeidas Diaz, who may not be available in all your leagues, a great young shortstop.
I snapped him up.
St. Louis Cardinals. The doctor has him on his team. Also, another one that maybe a lot of you don't know, Eugenio Suarez, playing third, I believe, now for the
Reds. Yeah,
for the Reds, also a shortstop eligible. So yeah, he's off to a hot start as well. The doctor, you had mentioned Martin Prado.
Martin Prado is leading the major leagues in batting today.
Yeah, so he's taken over the league from Daniel Murphy.
Yes, he has, and I will say that he's with the Marlins, and I saw him play against the Dodgers last week, 4 games. He tore it up.
Former Diamondback.
He tore up, right? He tore up Kershaw. He tore up Kazmir. No, he didn't tear up Kazmir. Kershaw, Stripling, and
better not say
Maeda.
Kazmir girl come after you.
Yeah, he hit Maeda hard.
Hey, Maeda. I have Maeda.
Tagged Maeda with his first loss last week.
Yeah, that's terrible. The Dodgers, when we get to the cold, then we like the Dodgers. Nolan Arenado, he's just tearing it up there.
Coming off a great year last year.
And I knew if I didn't get Donaldson, which I did get Donaldson, that Arenado would be a great pick, and I was almost tempted to just say, hey, I wish I get Arenado instead. But unfortunately, it's not to be. He may be even better than Donaldson right now. I think at third is one of the better players in the game.
He's getting better and better.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick if you got him on your league. Anthony Rizzo just tearing it up.
Speaking
I think
of getting better and better,
keeps getting better.
His numbers get better every year, and they're already solid. But they get better.
That makes me regret not. I was able to acquire him the last couple of years. I will not be acquiring him this year. Nobody's in their right mind is going to let him go. Victor Martinez just on a tear. He just torched me last week. I was playing a gentleman in our league.
Victor still is he 37 years old and still doing it?
Yeah, Victor Martinez torched me. A big reason why I lost. So I'm at 2-2.
I'm facing Skyler this week, MC, and it's been a pretty easy ride.
I don't know. Falling asleep.
I don't know why you had such trouble with him. I'm steamrolling right over.
You are steamrolling. That has a lot to do with your players and the lack of producing mine, but last week at least.
Those Dodgers you got.
Yeah, I know. So Jake Arrieta obviously still rolling strong. Chris Sale, both Chicago aces.
Jake Arrieta.
Jordan Zimmerman, whoever has Zimmerman, I believe it's Zach. So good job, Zach, in picking Zimmerman because he is off to an amazing start. Matt Kemp, who the doctor has dropped.
Great pickup, MC.
And I had picked him up so he doesn't defeat me with him. So, and Kemp, if you keep producing, I have changed my mind on Kemp. I'm going to keep him because I want players who are producing, and Kemp is producing.
I have a history of beating you with Kemp.
You have a history of picking up Kemp off waiver and just using him against me and
for
getting
the 1
rid
week.
of him again.
Yes.
Not going to happen this time. Molina, Yadier Molina, actually hitting well above 300. I have him on my team. Not the power that he displayed a couple years ago, but he's hitting machine.
He is a hitting machine. He'll continue
a hitting
to
streak
do so.
going, I think, of almost 11 games. I don't know if I'm mistaken there, but very close. He's hitting. Nothing, I think...
he'll be consistent, too.
Yeah,
You're not going to see Molina go up and down.
Yeah, Will Myers of the Padres is off to a good start, too. I think he had an 0 for 4
He's off to a
yesterday.
good start, but I'm still not sold on him.
Everybody's sold on him. I'm taking a chance on him now. George Springer finally taken off a little bit, and he's carried me a little bit so far in this past, end of last week and early this week. Finally getting off that cold list. Bartolo Colon, believe it or not, is off to a pretty good start with the Mets. And,
talk about ageless players.
Nobody has him probably in our
not.
league and probably a lot of leagues, but you could probably do a lot worse in your starting pitching because I had to piece together a staff of guys that I drafted all in later rounds and off waivers, and I think with both taking a chance on Maeda, Gio Gonzalez was actually a really good pick. I ended up and I took that chance. I knew he was a sleeper. As Jose Quintana is actually my best pitcher.
5th in the major leagues in ERA right now.
I know, and he very, if he wasn't on a staff with Chris Sale, he'd be the best pitcher in any team he'd probably be on. And I was glad to have taken him. I didn't get so lucky with Carlos Rodon. Unfortunately, he's still struggling. Maybe not quite turning the corner this year, but I'm pretty happy with the staff.
Well, as you remember, I picked Arrieta and Keisel right out of the gate.
You did.
And then I've had to piece together a staff since then, but I did grab Patrick Corbin, who's been a big plus. I had, we'll get to the Cole players.
Speaking of Diamondbacks, going to Cole,
I had Shelby Miller, and what a regret that is.
Shelby Miller is really having a bad season right now, and maybe he's feeling the pressure too much. Greinke could still be considered as still on that borderline there.
He's still cold, too, and I have to believe, and I've talked with one of our former guests, too, Jason Himmelstein, the pitching coach makes a big difference on these teams. And you would think somebody like Greinke, Shelby Miller, would have their own routine. They wouldn't really need coaching. But a pitching coach is influential. Look at Arrieta, Chris Bosio.
Hopefully we'll be able to have Jason back on again.
Oh, yeah,
He's a very
soon.
good dude. He's always singing the praises of the fast pitch.
Yes, he is.
He's always tagging us in great stuff, so we want to thank him as
He
always.
was a big booster in helping me get with the MLB network, too.
What a guy.
But,
we love him here.
He can talk about the pitching coach on the Diamondbacks because he's seen him over the years.
Yes, what a great dude. He's an Angels fan, isn't he?
He's a fan of baseball. Let's put it that way.
He's a fan of baseball. Yeah, I always see him with an Angels hat.
Yeah,
maybe that's mistaken me. Chris Archer was still struggling, not as bad as he was when our great listener Hammy in our league and Slash, who won this week, who's also in our league, he had dropped
him a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so I picked him up, got a win out of him. He's still trying to turn that corner completely. I think he might have, but. You have Kyle Seager, who's struggling. He's maybe starting to hit a little bit now.
He's got an 8-game hitting streak, and this is a funny thing.
He was cold.
We talked about this. He's hitting 400 over the last 8 games. His average is only 181.
I know, that shows how bad he was. Same thing with our the other guy who had dropped before him is Troy Tulowitzki. He still has not got out of that hole he's dug for himself.
I made a mistake with Tulo. Somebody grabbed at the shortstop I wanted, Corey Seager, and I had to stick with Tulo, and now I'm done with him.
Wonder who did that.
Yeah.
Corey and the entire Dodgers team kind of struggling, as you had mentioned earlier in the show, kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but Adrian Gonzalez coming into today was in a 2 for 21 slump, and I think...
And he's normally the most consistent here on that team.
I looked at the stats today, you hadn't done anything either, so that's very sad. The Dodgers, Giants, as you said, and Diamondbacks all in the NL West having some trouble there, so you got players there. Although when the Giants were playing me, Hunter Pence was kicking the crap out of me.
Yeah, Hunter Pence and Belt are off to good starts. Posey's getting there.
Posey's done a little bit, I think, this past week, too.
I want to go back to the Dodgers for a second, just so you know, MC, that 6-game losing streak they had when I was covering last week, they scored 9 runs in 6 games.
Why did you go out there and jinx them? I have 2 of them on my team.
I was ordered to go by the bosses, so...
Yes. Well,
I'll be back in Los Angeles.
You need to bring a rabbit's foot or something. You need to just bring some mojo into the LA Stadium.
I will be back next
week. For only
week.
The reason is to get Adrian Gonzalez and Corey Seager back on track.
The Mets visit Los Angeles next week for a repeat of last year's NLDS, and I'll be there for all 4 games.
We'll look forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Rounding out our cold, Michael Brantley coming back. It's still early. It's like he's extended spring training almost, so... I did drop him, but he might heat up again.
And no one's picked him up.
He's under 200 right now, so it's kind of hard to pick somebody up. It's like you only have a certain amount of spots in our league.
Right.
I figured out a little loophole. You can drop relievers and keep guys under bench, but that's not going to help anything if you can't do getting points out of them. So obviously I'm the commish, so I'm revealing this publicly. So if you are in our league and listening to this, you've just got a bit of exclusive information from.
But why would you drop? I have Kenley Jansen and Mark Millinson. Why would I drop
it's really tough. I mean, you could drop a starter even too, but so you can keep players on the bench. It's just you're not getting points from guys on the bench.
You've got to rotate it. That means you got to look every day. It's time consuming
every day, and then it becomes a should I have done this?
Right. You drive yourself crazy.
But I will tell you this: on Monday, usually Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, there are players who aren't playing. So could be to your advantage there in our league. So we're talking a little bit of our league. So just to get back to it, so you got our hots, you got our colds, and if whatever fantasy league you're in, hopefully people like the great Seth Swirsky is listening, and hopefully we can help him out, or anybody else who's listening. That's the point of the Fast Pitch Fantasy League. We'll just try to track our great listener, Zachary L., see how he's doing, as well as give back to all you fans with some great info.
That's right.
So,
Jeff Hamilton, too.
Jeff Hamilton, and no matter who is listening to this, hopefully you get a little bit of insight, and we're going to bring it to you every show.
Yeah, like I mentioned, MC, a lot of my feedback is about this segment of the show, how much people like it.
Yeah, so. That's awesome. So, yeah, we got the feedback. We're giving you a hot cold, and we'll see where we're at next week then with this stuff. So we're going to wrap this show up, chock full of different things. Hope you guys enjoyed our great interview with Jason Siler, the fans. We want to thank them as well that Dr. Eric had interviewed, and Craig so graciously cleaned up to get the sound quality hopefully better on that for all you guys. And we're going to wrap this one up, Doctor. Another great show.
Another great show, MC.
So for the Fast Pitch Game 21, I am your co-host, MC Brown.
I'm Eric Lenneberg.
So you guys have a great evening or morning, whenever you're listening to this, and stay safe, as the doctor always says, and we thank you all for listening.
Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week, and folks, have a pleasant week wherever you may be.
This has been a presentation of the best station, the best music for the best audience, thebeststation.net.
Jesus loves you more than you will know. Whoa, whoa, whoa. God bless you, please, Mrs. Robinson. Heaven holds a place for those who pray. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. We'd like to know a little bit about your 4 or 5. We'd like to help you learn to help yourself. Look around you, all you see are sympathetic eyes. Stroll around the grounds until you feel at home. And here's to you, Mrs. Robinson. Jesus loves you more than you will know. Whoa, whoa, whoa. God bless you, please, Mrs. Robinson. Heaven holds a place for those who pray. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hiding in a hiding place where no one ever goes. Put it in your pantry with your cupcakes. It's a little secret, just the Robinsons affair. Most of all, you got to hide it from the kids. Cuckoo-cuckoo, Mrs. Robinson. Jesus loves you more than you will know. Whoa, whoa, whoa. God bless you, please, Mrs. Robinson. Heaven holds a place for those who pray. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Sitting on a sofa on a Sunday afternoon, going to the candidates' debate. Laugh about it, shout about it when you've got to choose. Every way you look at it, you lose. Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio? A nation turns its lonely eyes